Welcome back to another episode of InDepth. My name is Christian. I'm here with Judah, and we have a special guest, Guss. Hi, Guss. Talk to you.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Dude, so good.
So good?
Yeah.
Yeah? Enjoying the cloudy, rainy
Yeah, it's a pretty
day?
depressing day outside, but I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah. And you were telling us that you went to school and then you came back to school.
Yeah.
And
I did
that
a
just
full
added
loop.
to the-
I
just
drove
added
all
to
the way out, and then I realized that I don't have any classes I have to go to, and so I came back.
That kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
I'll
Miss
tell him a
Lisa
rainy
was
day.
nice. Yeah.
At least you had a good time with the bus driver.
Miss Lisa's a bus driver, but she was nice. She was a nice
We're
person.
definitely going to keep that in.
Miss Lisa was nice. Miss Lisa, if you're watching this, we'll have my number in the description.
we're gonna move on.
All right. It is. I knew this was gonna happen. We are 3 minutes in. All right.
That was
So-
so random.
This is so good.
I like
I'm
this.
so happy to be here.
So most people that are probably gonna be listening to this know who you are, but give us a little update on what you're doing in life right now.
That's great.
Yeah.
Love that.
College, work, what's happening?
I have 4 kids. No.
Lisa.
Me and Miss. Okay.
No, man.
Guys, we're getting in depth here. That's all I'm gonna say. All right.
I didn't know you had 4 kids. Hold up a minute.
All right. Let's see if I can get through this.
Oh, bro.
I'm a freshman at Westchester.
Yeah.
Should I talk to them? I'm a
No,
freshman
you
at
can-
Westchester.
Whoever you want.
I'm majoring in political science. I don't have much of a plan other than that. It's kind of just going to school, working to pay off for school. I don't really know what my career is going to be. I've considered pastoral ministry. I've considered all sorts of things. But right now I'm just kind of doing school, building friendships, relationships, and just trying to work hard and grow, especially in faith. I think right now, I'm just trying to focus on my relationship with God and just grow in that right now. So it's not very, structured, but it does have an overall
Yeah.
goal of just use this time to grow in
Yeah.
that area.
Are you finding that there's a lot of areas to do that in Westchester? I don't know Westchester's campus too well, and the whole theology and all that they have
Yeah.
there. I know crew's there. Is that kind of
Yeah.
your main way of
Yeah.
with growing with people and building your faith? Or
Yeah, so Crew is definitely the place where I've found the most friendships and just digging into a whole new community that I wasn't a part of before. And so I found a lot there, and that it does grow my faith just because it's another night where I get together with other Christians and we worship and we read the word and all that. But I think, the mix of church and then college life after church, which is, a club, and Crew, it's just this, and I'm a part of multiple Bible studies, so it's just this weekly basis of different outlets for exploring the Bible and faith and prayer and all that.
Cool. Well, nice. I'm excited for this this topic that we're gonna do because we're all kind of in a different area of life. I think. Me, I graduated college already. Guss is in college,
With
and
4
Judah,
kids.
yeah, with 4 kids.
Yeah.
And Judah did not go to college. So we're all in different areas of life. So the topic we're going to be kind of focusing on is how do I know where God is leading me? That's kind of, I feel like, a daily, yearly, lifelong kind of thing that, I mean, since it's saying where God is leading me as a Christian, that's kind of a lifelong seeing where God's bringing you, seeing where God is leading you in new directions. So with that, kind of looking at this first, we could go through the points.
Might as well.
But maybe, Guss, for you, what kind of options were you looking at before college? When you got out of high school and deciding on where you wanted to go, what you wanted to do, what did that process kind of look like for you to end up? Because I know you were looking at a few things.
Yeah.
I think maybe one was the military.
Yeah.
That was in there. And then I don't know if any other universities or how did you decide, or what was kind of the way that you went to decide on going to Westchester?
Yeah, it kind of was. It was definitely a tough choice because there was the school that I wanted to go to, and then there was the school that I could financially commit to.
Mm-hmm.
because I have to pay for school on my own. I'm not really getting support from any outside sources, and so I had to make the decision of like, can I try to go to a school that costs a lot more but that I want to go to, or should I really focus on just going to Westchester, which was pretty much the only school that it was a school that I desired to go to. Like, it wasn't like it was unappealing, but it was the school that made the most sense financially. And so it was trying to decide, but it like wasn't my top school. My top school was probably Pitt. Just in terms of everything it had to offer. And, you know, like I've grown up in this area my whole life, so I was trying to figure that out. And then the military, it was definitely something I considered strongly just because it would fully pay off school. And so if that's out of the way and like school's paid for, and so I'm not in any sort of debt, then it frees up a lot for me. In terms of like if I wanted to move out and get an apartment with some random guy on the street. Yeah, Judah.
Just that
like,
random guy.
That was kind of an option. Was if I went to the military, I would probably have the capacity to get an apartment right now. But instead, I made the decision to not do that, just because it's a big commitment. And now I'm working a lot to pay off school.
Gotcha.
So I was met with a lot of options, but I chose Westchester. I chose to work to pay off school, and that's going pretty well right now.
Nice.
So
Cool. Judah.
Repeat the question.
Repeat the question. How'd you go? Because I know you're in a different, like, area of life with not going to school. We're just kind of going around, like, how'd you make a decision for this part? And we'll kind of get in depth of that. But how did you decide on, instead of going to college, just doing whatever you're doing now? Like, how did you decide? What was the thought process behind that?
I hated school. That was a big factor. I just never enjoyed school. It was, I wasn't like horrible at school. Like, I was a pretty good student. Was able to keep on top of like my school, but I just didn't like the idea of classes. That's why I was never public schooled. I had the option to. My parents were like, yeah, like if you want to, you could go to school if you feel like it. But I had like been homeschooled my whole life, and I was just like, it just doesn't make, like, I didn't like the idea of classes. I didn't like the idea of sitting in a class. I hated being called on. I didn't like coming out of my comfort zone, which is something I'm working on. But then it's like, I didn't like sitting in a class for, like, going to different classes for 6 hours, 7, 8 hours a day, coming home and doing school for another 3 hours. Where I can homeschool, I can do it, I can learn it as I'm doing it, and then finish in 3, 4, 5, like 5 hours instead of the 9, 10, 11 hours that a public school or private school person does. Because they learn it and they're jumping from class to class to learn a bunch of different subjects, whereas homeschool, you learn it as you go. So you do the questions and you learn, like, as you are learning how to do it. Which is, for me, just fit a lot better. And I was able, and I get, like, honestly, like, homeschooling isn't for everyone.
Yeah.
Some people need that accountability of the teacher to kind of be like, oh, keep going. I was able to continue on my own and just be able to push myself, to get my stuff done. I had that goal of like, all right, I want to be done at this time today, or I just want to get it all done. So I didn't have it, so it motivated me to get it done. But so that was a big reason why I didn't want to go to college. One is just the classrooms. I never liked classrooms. And then the time, like the whole time thing. Another reason is I didn't see a point in going for anything, like nothing, no career paths were interesting. I had like interest in like sports science and like physical science and like those, like be like a athletic director or whatever it is. But as like, just like, I don't want to sit in don't want to sit in a classroom to learn how to do that stuff. It was never enjoyable. And like, it wasn't like I was like, oh, I want to do this. It was like, oh, that'd be fun, but like, I don't want to pursue that for my whole life and have that as my career. And that's where, like I've said in the past, like I'm trying to do photography. I didn't need to go to class. I don't need to go to school for that. There's no reason to go to school for photography. Like, you can, but for me, it made more sense to dive into the photography system
by just like going into it instead of like going to classes and then, oh, I have a degree in said thing. Will you hire me? No, just go and do it. Like, yeah, I'll work. Give me some things to do and build your. It made me be able to build my portfolio quicker, and with saving money. Personally, that's where it is for me. Those are like the three things. Like, it didn't really make much sense. I hated classrooms and I didn't really like school. I mean, no one really likes school. I mean, there are other people that actually enjoy it, and that's great. But the majority of people don't like school, and I was in that majority. So that's kind of like why I decided not to go to college, because it just didn't make much sense to me.
Yeah. So you found like your time outside of college was gonna be better spent, like with the things that you wanted to do.
Yeah.
I feel like that's more like now with a lot of stuff. It's like you don't have to go to college. Like now it's not as pushed as more. Like, it's still pushed, but like people. I mean, again, it's like YouTube University. Like people can just do whatever they want, kind of thing, and they can make a living out of it. So it's more just like you don't have to go to college. Some people just go because either parties and whatever. But I wanted to open up a question. Are there any things that you're wrestling through now that you're trying to find leading in? So like, is there any like big plan or like something that you're trying to like wrestle through, be like, where am I going in this or that area? If not, it's cool. I could start with mine because I have.
I was gonna say, why don't you like wrap up with your story?
Oh,
you asked both of us the thing. You have to ask yourself the question.
Okay. I'll
People want to know.
Yeah.
So for me, I kind of going out of high school, I went right into college. I went to 3 colleges, but I didn't stay all the.
Did you go to Westchester?
No.
Because you were asking what hall, and I was like,
I was more just like maybe because I've gone through Westchester so many times. Like, oh, maybe I've known.
Yeah.
Maybe I've gone through that. I went to right out of high school. I went to Cairn University for 1 semester, and it did not do well at all. Academically, okay. Mentally and all that, not really. I was just wasn't used to the wide world out there, being homeschooled, and I just wasn't ready to move out. That's where my parents went and met, and I was like, hey, I'll just go because it seems like they love it, and I was like, yeah, it sounds like a good idea. So then I went to Montgomery County Community College for 1.5 years, and then after that, then went to Eastern for 2 years. So I jumped around a lot. I didn't really ever consider not going to college. It was just something that I always wanted to do. And then coming out of college, just now working. So like for me, a lot of the big decisions, because like college, I kind of always knew I went for music. I kind of always knew I wanted to do that. So it was never like big decisions. Like I had times where I was like questioning or struggling with what am I doing? Where am I going? But like I always knew I wanted to get through college and get a degree. So a lot of these kind of questions now have been more arising outside of college in like my everyday life of like, well, as I'm pursuing this creative kind of more avenue of videography, music, and all the other stuff, and freelancing, it's been more just like, well, where does God have me in this whole thing? So that's kind of where a lot of my questions are coming from now is like, okay, what does my life look like? I have this degree. Sweet. I still live at home. So it's like, cool. I want to move out. All right, cool. That's the next step. But like, how am I going to support? How am I going to do all that stuff? So like, those are like the things that like, how do I know where God's leading me in this way or that way? So kind of like my overview of that.
Yeah.
Again, going back to the second question then. You guys can start if you want. If you guys have like an idea of like in a now situation, are you guys wrestling with to go left or right or both? And we can just open up from there. I can throw one out because I got one.
Go. I mean,
cool, you go.
I was not so much anymore. I don't know if I touched up on this in one of the past podcasts, but I had for like past couple like months. Now I'm a little more like, okay, I'm trying to do photography. It's just a little more set in stone. Like that's what I'm gonna try to do. But I was debating between photography, like missions, so like missionary. Had thoughts about being a pastor, and then had the other thoughts of like maybe none of those will work out, and what am I supposed to do? But for me, like I kind of just was like, it just took time for me to kind of figure out, like, after a little while, just wasn't really feeling as of right now, and God could change my heart, but missions right now isn't really on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Pastoral ministry isn't really on my mind right now. And then the other, just what else, the other things, if all three don't work out, it's not really on my mind either.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty set, like, okay, for now in my life, where I am at this point is going to be photography.
Mm-hmm.
Right now it's in the winter, so it's a little bit slow, so it can be discouraging here and there. But like when the spring comes, like it's going to be a lot easier to get it into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had that in the past where it's like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm like, I have all these options. So what am I supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
But now recently I've been able to like, kind of like divvy it down to like, all right, I'm going to be doing photography
Mm-hmm.
and just push for that. So like not, even though you were asking like, do we have those? Like I've had that, but I'm not in that stage as of right now.
Which is good. That's a blessing.
Yeah.
For sure. Gus, do you have any? And if you don't, if you're not in that season, that's a great place to be.
It definitely is. It definitely is kind of a stall in my life of like, I've made these decisions and now we're just kind of coasting.
Mm-hmm.
But there's definitely always questions of like, what does God have for me? I like what you said.
Mm-hmm.
What does God have for me in these different things, and how can I grow in these different ways? And especially as a college student who works and who has all these different outlets for community and growth
Mm-hmm.
in many different ways, I think one of the biggest questions is just, what should I be committing myself more to, and what should I be kind of stepping back from? And I've had to say no to some things this year. It's been weird because normally I'm used to just saying yes to everything and still having a ton of free time left over.
Yeah.
But now it's like my week, it has a very, tight schedule. And so it's just some things that I want to do. It's just like I can't. I don't have time to do that. And that's unfortunate because I love doing things. So it's a lot of minor decisions that I've definitely needed wisdom to navigate recently.
Yeah. Do you find that it's been easy to say no to those things, or like are you someone that just like wants to just always be involved? Like, do you have FOMO, like hard FOMO with a lot of stuff?
It's not FOMO, but I just tend to feel like I'm being unproductive if I say no to something. Like I feel guilty about saying no to things rather than, I don't know. Yeah, I just feel like, oh, you're being lazy by not doing this. And it was kind of, it's something that I'm still learning, but it's also something that I have grown in a lot, is just realizing that people are going to want me to do things, and it's okay to just, like, especially, my mom was talking to me the other day, and she was like, you're not home enough. Like, we miss you. You're kind of coming home, saying hi, and then leaving again. And that really has been how it is. And so just realizing there are there's like time that I should block out where I'm just with my family. And that's okay. That's not me being lazy. That's just, me pressing into another outlet in my life, which is family. And so, a lot of it is all good things. Like, none of it is like, oh, I have these two terrible things that I have to choose from. It's all good things. It's just, where does God have me? And trying to receive feedback from him rather than just like, what do I want to do? What's most appealing to me?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's good. Definitely in college, that's like when I found that I had to like really be intentional with my schedule, because like there's not enough time to do everything. And then coming out of it, it kind of transitioned. So like, definitely that whole, I think more just like growing up and what?
You're gonna have to mute out some very strong gulping on my part.
I didn't even hear it.
Oh man,
So,
Judah did.
I barely heard it. It
Judah
wasn't
did.
that
You'll
loud.
see on there. It was like I took a gulp and then I was just like. Anyway, you can.
That's good.
you
No,
can
I was
continue.
pretty much wrapping up that. Just like the whole having all that stuff. Anyways, so kind of like going into making decisions, what has helped you guys, and there's a few categories of like, either it's like bringing in people or prayer. Like, what has helped you the most in making these kind of decisions? Like, could it be like bringing in trusted friends and their opinions, praying, making like a decision and trusting. Because sometimes we're faced with really good decisions,
Yeah.
and like there could be two good decisions. Like for you, it's like if you go to the army, yeah, you have to serve for the army and do all that stuff, and there's responsibility there. But you also get to move out, you get to do all the really fun stuff. Then if you stay home, you go to Westchester, then it's like, well, it's still a good thing. Like I'm still getting education. I stay at home and I just work a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what would you highlight that's helped you make good decisions? If that's maybe just someone being like, hey, I think this is a decision you should make, and you just make that. That's could be as simple as that. I'll leave it up to you guys.
Do you want me to go first again?
If you want to.
I can go first again.
Yeah, do it.
All right. I think a little bit of all that you're saying, prayer, which I don't do enough of in these like times when I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't pray enough about that specific thing. But that is always helpful. Having trusted friends and family involved in the decisions is very helpful because it gives you second perspective or third, fourth, multiple viewpoints, all coming from different angles of life. Just be like, maybe that's not the greatest idea. Maybe you should think about this a little bit more. Or like them being like, if you're not praying, like, have you prayed about this?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's just having other people come in and kind of like say like, oh, this is like just getting other perspectives from other people. So I think that's like a lot of the times, and like just different areas, like you don't have to use them all the different, like you don't need to like invite everyone into your like every situation you've had that's like you're struggling with. Like that's not what you need to do. There are times where it would be wise to and keep it limited to specific people that you trust and stuff like that, but it's not like you have to have everyone involved in every single decision of your life. Like there will become a time when you have to make a decision by yourself, for yourself, on your own. Like you won't be able to just, like it might be a split second, like, oh, do you want to do this? Or like this thing comes up and you can't quick call your mom, like, hey mom, do you think this is a great idea? Like you have to decide that like right then and there. So there are times where like that, and there's other times where you do have a lot of time and kind of just like doing it. And then I think another thing that really helps is just waiting.
Yeah.
And just feel out what happens. Like for me, like it took a really long time, like quite a few months until I actually was like, all right, I'm going to be starting, like I feel confident in photography. There was quite like 4, 5, 6 months that I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I'm trying to figure out life right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and with everyone going to college, stuff like that, and me staying home, I was like I feel like I kind of have to have my job set up. I have to have my life going, have to be making so much money because I'm not going to school. And it's just not that, that's just like an unrealistic idea. Like, and I feel like it is put on a lot by the world. Like you have to have lined up, like X, Y, Z lined up, where it's not actually what you have to have lined up. It's just like, it's put onto you like that. But if you step back and you're like, all right, like I don't, coming out of high school, I don't need to have a 6-figure job coming in. Like that's not realistic at all. Like, if you just like get out and you're just like 6-figure, like that's great if you get that, that's fantastic, but that's just unrealistic for most people coming out of like high school and whatever. So I think it's just a lot of it's like praying, inviting specific people into your life that you feel like will be benefited, and it's also situations that you might pick different people for different situations because you know they've experienced this in this way. They haven't experienced this one, so go to a different person in this area. So it's like those two, and then just waiting and just kind of like letting God weave things in and out, take things out that isn't. That's like, all right, you waited, all right, it's now this is like a little reward. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Or you waited, so this thing comes out, and here's another option that you could just think about a little bit. And if you don't think, and then if I lead you in that way, great. If I put it in your life for a little while and take it back out, that was God's plan. That's what He wanted to happen. So I think it's just those three things, really.
Yeah.
What?
I hit the mic.
I have a point to go off of that in a minute, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. I just think the thing that helped me grow the most was just realizing that God is greater than any decision that you have to make. And so, I mean, like, I've been there, I'm sure we've all been there, where it's just like, what does God have for me right now? Or even maybe you're not even thinking about that, and you just have this big problem, and you're like, I need this to be solved, and I don't know what to do, and, you know, this is a big issue in my life right now. It may be the biggest. And just like, if you're not close to God at that point, or if God isn't number one in your life, you need to prioritize that over anything else. And that's going to help you so much in any decision, because yeah, just going to him and praying and just letting him take your burden and just saying like, God, I don't know what to do here. This is really stressful, but I want you to help me and give me your strength. I think that was the biggest comfort in my life. And it definitely feels like, it feels like you can get stuck in that prayer moment of like, all I'm doing is praying and I'm not really reaping any results from that prayer. So I think it also helps to be thankful for what prayers God has already answered in your life. So it's like, I can think back to when Judah was saying, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this next season in life. Like, I remember when you were coming to people close to you and saying, like, I need clarity. Like, that's what I'm praying for right now. If you guys could pray for me. And now you've kind of found that clarity with photography. And so it's like, and that's like an example for you, and that's an example for me. And there are more examples in my life of just, you can always look back and just see, I used to be in such a bad place with this situation, and here's how God brought me out of it. So there's a lot of thankfulness that can be done when you're struggling. And like this past week, I've struggled and felt like, is God really going to answer this prayer? But there's just so much evidence of God meeting you in different ways. So I just think learning to just pursue him on a daily basis, like if you're not doing that, then that's step one, is just try to pursue him. And then, life is still crazy. You still will be stressed, but at least you can go to him and cast your cares on him.
Yeah. I think a lot of times, I don't know if it's just the culture, but like just, I don't know, the idea, and I was even encouraged just you guys saying that, because like, just the idea of waiting is such a hard thing. I don't know if it's just like a culture thing or whatever, but just like, waiting seems like so counterintuitive to like what you're supposed to do. Is like, if you don't know what you're doing, figure it out and like push harder and work harder and do this harder. And kind of, I think that's a really good perspective, just leaning in on God in this time. And like, ultimately, he's going to have his will done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, being in that moment of like, it's like, I forget who, it was on a Sunday morning. It was like, I forget who was preaching and who, it was a quote, but it was like, if I could be like one step closer to God in these times of like trials.
Yeah, no, I remember that.
I forget what quote it was, but it was like, if I could just be one step closer to God because of these trials, then I want that.
Wasn't that JT?
It was JT, but it was, he quoted someone.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's just a really good reminder, just like seeking God. And like, you can all obviously keep seeking like your passions and stuff like that, and just like not be like a passive.
You're right.
You can be an active seeking. But like relying more on God in that, like even today, like I'm just been wrestling with some stuff, and just like, I just noticed, I was like, wow, I never read the Bible this morning.
Yeah.
I knew I should have, but like I woke up later, I did all that stuff, and I was like, man, I like just a difference of the day, that when you get focused on God in the morning, and then the rest of the day just feels a lot better, because you're like, you rest and you're kind of grounded more. So yeah, that's really good. I like that.
And one of the things you said that's just been on my mind for the past month, just so constant, is that we're not going to mess up his plan. It's like, I've needed that pretty much every day. It's just like, what does my future hold? Like, it's stressful to not have a distinct plan of like, this is how I'm going to be successful in 10 years. Like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I don't really know what my career is. And I have options, and I know that there are a lot of things, but it's definitely concerning when it's like, what if I'm just being complacent right now? So like, life is always going to throw worries at you, and just the comfort of knowing that no matter how hard you try, no matter how much you fail, you're never gonna, do something that God's like, oh, that wasn't what I wanted for you. It's like everything he planned out. And so it's just comforting to dwell on that. And, it's not like this cure. It's not like you won't be stressed ever again, but it is like, okay, I can at least breathe because I know that God is here in everything that I'm going through.
Yeah. It's like a comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely, I was going to say something, but I forget. Definitely an encouragement though. 'Cause like it puts the like the stress off of us mostly. Like there's still like obviously like we're like, oh my goodness, like we need to make sure we're spending our money wisely and all that
Right,
stuff. Like
right,
we
right.
don't want to be like, oh god, whatever. But like it kind of like puts the future that is so uncertain into like, I won't say a box, but into like stable hands.
Yeah.
And you can definitely feel that.
Yeah.
I kind of want to touch on a little bit on what Judah said, and you, Gus, you kind of said a little bit of that too. It's like the small moments, and I had this point that's kind of reverse of opposite of that about like lightning bolt moments. But I kind of wanted to like focus on like the small moments. Like, have you guys ever? This is something I kind of like doing, and I did a lot more in college just because I was a little more like nervous of what I was doing. But like looked back and kind of see like a path of where God's taking you, and like there's certain decisions that you've made. Are there any like you may want to share, like just like almost like a map that you like that you can kind of look back on and be like, wow, because I went here, God opened up these opportunities, these doors, and this really encouraged me to move forward in these. Like I can have confidence. For me, it was I went to 3 different schools, and throughout those times, I was like, I'm not sure if I should do music or not. But every single time I thought of something else, God brought opportunities with music, or just made it clear that music is where you're supposed to be. And that's why I kept going to different schools, even though I kept going there. Like I legit thought about medical school. I thought about business. I thought about the army at one point because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just go to the army, I guess.
It's a fallback.
So like there's a bunch of stuff, but like as I look back, I kind of like I almost see it as like a treasure map.
Yeah.
Kind of like here, and then I went to here, and then I went to here, and like it all makes sense now. And like I almost gives me like rest of like, no, like God is directing my steps in this way.
Yeah.
And my story is different than whoever this story is who has this much money, has done that. Like, is there like, you can say like confidently like, yeah, this is a map that God has taken me, and this is what I look back on. If not, that's just something that like very visual for me that I found very comforting.
I'll just answer this real quick and then you can jump in. I tend to look back on when I wanted to go to Pitt and when I didn't really want to go to Westchester. I kind of wanted to just, not because I don't like my family, but I wanted the experience of moving out and being able to make my own decisions freely and just having that independence. Because I did grow up in a relatively strict home where I felt like there was not a lot of freedom for me. Not that I disagree with the way I was raised, but it was just I wanted a new experience.
Yeah.
But just seeing the way God has grown me through this season in life, and just because I went to Westchester and stayed here surrounded by the community that I already knew, and still going to the same church I grew up in, as well as finding new community at Crew and just the people I've been meeting, God has used that to grow my faith so much. And it just makes me think that he was protecting me, because like if I was thrust into a new environment where there's zero accountability and it's just I'm at a school, nobody knows me, nobody knows who I was, I could reinvent myself if I wanted to, that would definitely be a temptation. And so I'm just very thankful when I look back on, despite me finding it challenging to make decisions and being really stressed out about it, I am very glad with what God has done for me. And there's always the 0 to 1 moment in terms of growth where it's like you weren't a Christian and then you were, and so that was probably like I would say the most progress I've made in my faith. But I think these past few months have been the second most, I'll say, if that makes any sense. Just like God has grown me so much, and just my knowledge and I guess pursuit of him has grown so much.
Cool. Judah?
Can't say I've had that map. But I definitely know like that God has taken advantage of these areas. Not, I guess advantage, that's a weird word to say. But has taken like I completely blanked.
I distracted you because I had
also the battery's about to die, but you can cut this part out.
About to die.
It's blinking red.
Oh shoot. Well, we might need to grab a battery. Thing's right over there if you need it.
Yeah, I'll probably do that in a minute.
Are we gonna have to clap again?
No,
No.
we're not gonna.
Dang it.
No, yeah, I've definitely I know that the parts of my life, my whole life has been mapped out in a map, but I don't. I haven't really thought in the way you've thought it. So I can't be like, oh, this because I went here, this happened. Like there are areas like because we moved to this area almost 4 years ago. I know it has affected me in a positive way. But I can't be like, oh, because I went here, this happened. Because I went here, this happened. Because here, this is why that happened. And like, so like,
I think the biggest thing is
different
like
experiences and different ways of thinking about it. But I've just like, I have my own way, and that's my way of conscious. I like know it happened, but I'm not like,
right.
do.
I think it's like acknowledging the small moments in the grand scheme of something. That's more what the map is for me. It's like it wasn't like, oh, if I go to Cairn University and I'm coming from Cairn University and I go now to Manco, then that transition is gonna be like this huge thing. It was more just like, I think this is the way next step to go. But as when you look back, you're like, oh shoot, like this brought me 4 years. This is like encapsulates 4 years of my life, and that brought me to this point in time right now. So I know, for me, it's confidence of like, I know God has a plan, and it kind of gives me more confidence in that. So that's what it means to me. Kind of on the what?
No, just look at your thing real quick.
I was gonna say, gotcha. Kind of on, we can do this. This is kind of a quick little thing, and then we'll go down to that point that you're saying. Have you ever had a lightning bolt moment? Do you guys like, you know what like a lightning bolt moment is? Or an idea of that.
There were two things that I thought were funny when I saw you typing this out, because number one, you misspelled lightning and it's lighting moment or lighting bolt moment.
Lighting bolt
but
moment.
It's a light bulb, right? Light bulb moment.
It's a lightning bolt moment, which I guess I was
light
more
bulb
saying,
is kind of like, like it's like enlightening. A light bulb is like you have to go.
Like that, and it was more my whole thing with the lightning bolt is
Lighting bolt.
I was wondering why you were laughing too. I was like, I thought I spelled it right. Is like God was like, this is where you're going right now.
Oh,
that's a lightning bolt moment,
Okay,
and I feel
yeah.
like a lot of times I know life is not like lightning bolts at all.
Yeah, right.
But I know a lot of times I wish it was. But again, that's why I came to the small moments kind of thing. Is like, is there like a thing that you feel like these small moments have made a big difference? Because like lightning, I sometimes wish it's like, oh, like with his career, God's like, do it right now. It's kind of like an Old Testament thing where like a burning bush and like that, and it's like God speaks, and you're like, well, that's very direct, and I love it.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
And I think God kind of can work in that, but he doesn't do that as much. I think there's ebb and flow for actually. That's debatable. But have you ever had? I'm just more curious. Have you ever had a moment where like in your life where like this is literally like not like a lightning bolt strike, but like
So we are talking about like a burning bush moment,
Yeah.
almost like that.
I
That's
I
what
mean,
you're
yes,
asking. Yeah.
yes, not like where you hear God and then like some phenomenon, but like
If
we were,
it
like-
happens, fantastic.
Yes,
You can
but
have
like
it.
it's like this is a clear thing, and if not, that I just want to throw that out because I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Because I've never had one.
I haven't
Really,
either.
I've had small ones, but like not like this is what
Yeah.
you do.
I have one that I could think of. It was just, and like there are a few moments. I don't know. This doesn't really relate to like. I mean, it kind of relates to a decision that needed to be made, but just there was a point in my life when I was just not pursuing God at all, and I was just focused on my own kind of gain in the world. Is that gonna die? It's completely cut out as I'm talking.
No, you're good over here. We'll just
Um,
cut to that.
there was a moment in my life when I was just not pursuing God at all, and I was aware of that and comfortable with that. And I was not interested in pursuing Him, not because I didn't. It was just because I didn't. I saw the immediate gain in the world that I could have, and so I pursued that, and just kind of ignored any conviction to return to faith. I never stopped believing in God, but it was just like I was just in this kind of, I had indifference to Him, which was really bad. But that went on for a while, and there were points where I was like, I should stop doing this and start pursuing God again. But there's so much weight to that of like, I need to confess. Like, if I really want to recommit myself to God, I have to confess everything that I've done, which I don't want to do. I have to have a lot of conversations with people that I don't want to have, and I actually have to stop doing the things that I view as fun. And so, like, that was like why I didn't do it then. why I didn't stop, and that was the reasoning that kept me from stopping. But I just remember there was this like week span where the week started off with me just, I forget where I was, but I was just like thinking, and it was kind of like a prayer. I was like, God, I know that this is not what you have for me, and I know that none of this is worth it, but I don't have the strength to stop. And so I need you to just completely, reform me, reshape me, and pull me back to you. And then like a week later, I was I was sitting at church, and I was just like, it was just this decision that just kind of came up on me, and I was just like, I'm gonna start living for God again. And I was like, I'm gonna start confessing. I'm gonna start, talking to people, and I'm gonna stop doing the things that I didn't want to stop doing. And so it was just kind of, I don't know. It was definitely, I just remember thinking, this is not me. Like I am not thinking this right now. This is just completely God working through me. And then it was like that night I started to have conversations with people, and I started to just like strive towards God again for the first time in a while. So it was just like, that was probably the biggest moment that I can recall, where it was just like, oh, that wasn't me. Like that was just God completely working through me, and now I get to be thankful for him. So
That real quick. You said like that day you're like, oh, I gotta go start talking to people, and like your life has changed. But I just want to like say, like, just because this is more of like encouragement to, like, I know we know this, and I know if like you're listening and you know this, but like if you don't, like if you screw up after you decide to continue to fall, like go for Christ, it doesn't matter. Like it sucks, and it does matter. But it shouldn't drag you down to be like, oh, I'm a horrible person, like God's never gonna forgive me this time, and then you be like, all right, you finally decide, okay, he does forgive me, and it happens again, like, he's not gonna forgive me this time. Like that's not how it works. You ask for forgiveness every time because you failed, but because of God's mercy and grace, and his like want for us, he forgives us every time. All we have to do is just ask for the forgiveness. If you hold out in a sinful way and just like against him, that's where you're going wrong. But if you do something wrong and you ask for forgiveness, you go to the people you wronged, you go to God, and you just like say it, like God will forgive you. So like if you like do, like Gus said, like you do change your way, like, oh, I'm gonna live for Christ now, and you fail the next day, it doesn't matter. It's not like, oh, you weren't living for God. Like you were. You struggled with it before, and you're still gonna struggle with it. God can just take it like that, but there's reasons why you continue to struggle, because God knows you can. It's still a struggle for you, and He wants to continue to grow you in that area. So the devil will still tempt you, and you'll fall into it. But God knows that you're gonna fall into those easily, so He's gonna continue to give the grace out. It's kind of like an encouragement, just like, yeah, like even though you say this and then you fail, God doesn't regret saying, "Oh, I forgive you." But yeah, we can move on to the next point.
Yeah, cool. The next one, and Judith, do you want to hit this one off?
Sure.
Cool.
Next one is just, it's what it's written down is take risks. This is something when we were like writing out.
It's more practical.
It's more practical. Yeah. But like, so like this is something we write now. I wrote this out because I was like, this is like, I feel like very big, even in like the spiritual. Like I wasn't sure if it's gonna become like, I had all these different things, and like, so I started taking the risks of like starting like, all right, put my foot in the water, and that water dried up. So I'm like, all right, it's not for me. Put my foot in the other water, that dried up, not for me. Put my foot in another puddle, it grew into an ocean. Like, all right, like it's such a weird analogy, but I
love the switch to puddle. I was just like, oh, okay, creative.
And then yeah, you put your foot in another, and like for me, like photography. And it's gonna sound weird. It became an ocean. Like it started to grow. It became a lake, and then it's just starting to go. It's starting to flow, bro.
If you guys take away one thing from this podcast, it's just dip your foot in water, and it may grow into an ocean. Wait, your foot or the body of the water?
Over the water.
Is your foot gonna grow into an ocean? Is that what we're just like the water gets? I don't know. Okay, let's
get. But yeah, what it is just like
SpongeBob
take
zone.
risks. Like be willing to take the risks and. Crap, bro.
Continue.
It's like take risks, And like, I think it's probably in a future podcast question we have written down, but just like be willing to fail. Like, because you fail does not mean you're a failure. You have it on your thing up there,
Yeah,
actually.
I just saw that.
It has that. It says, what is it? Failures are for the strong or something like
Yeah.
that. That's exactly what it is. Failures, in the worldly point of view, is you're a failure. You suck at what you're doing. You should stop, quit, try something new because you're not good at it. Whereas in the biblical point of view, you fail, and it's not like, oh yes, he failed, but it's like it can be encouraging because you're like, you failed. Oh, it sucks. God's like, all right, try again. Continue to try. You failed again. Continue to try. I'm not giving up on you. The world gave up on you. I'm still gonna believe in you. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. And it's sort of like the failures should be, in my point of view, looked at as a good thing. They suck. They very do. But it's one, God continuing to push us in the right direction, and two, like God chiseling out the things that He doesn't want in us that are prideful, sin, anger, whatever. He's just chipping away at all that stuff. He's chipping away at all that stuff.
Oh my gosh, he's growing your foot. I just keep imagining it's just like it's swelling.
It's a swollen
I
foot.
need to stop. This is bad. You were like talking and you were saying good things, and I'm just imagining a foot.
But yeah, just like continue in that way of like God will continue to grow you in that area, and a failure isn't a bad thing. It's just you failed, and by the grace of God, you have another chance. You have another chance. You failed at like you I don't know. You did drugs. Stop picturing the foot.
I can't stop.
All right, whatever. I'm gonna continue. Like, wow, you like struggle with drugs or porn or whatever it is, and the world's like, man, you suck. Like, you're a horrible person, and God's like, all right, get rid of it. Try it again. You fall into it again. He's like, get rid of it again. Try. Oh, it died. Again, bro. What the crap?
It's
all
all
right. I'm just gonna continue because it doesn't matter. It's just you.
Yeah.
It's just
me.
Can we put
okay.
like your photo, like your profile photo, in place of like the video of you, and then it's just your voice? Or option 2, you can sit on my lap. I support both of these options.
Let's try to get some new battery.
Okay.
Should I continue or should I wait?
You continue.
Okay. We'll cut this all.
We might have to cut that. Yeah, I don't know. Second.
We're gonna have to chop some of this up, but yeah, just going back to the thing is like you got to continue to just know that God has forgiveness for you in those times of failure. So it's kind of going. I've veered off of the taking risks, but going back to the taking risks is take risks, and if you fail, try again. Try another risk. Like, and don't be stupid. Don't make it a stupid like I'm gonna jump off a cliff without a bungee cord. That's a risk, or something like that. Like that's like. Like that's like a stupid risk, but take like, but you have to be willing to take risks that are a little bit more edgy, but not that edgy. But like take risks that like you might not be comfortable with. Like, take the risk of getting out of your comfort zone, doing something you're not comfortable with, and like just take that risk. And if it fails, it's not for you, and that's okay. You move on to the next thing. So, thoughts on that?
Want me to go?
Yeah.
I'll do it. I like that. I definitely taking risks. I'm huge, like, on the practical side, taking risks for what you desire, what you would like. You can't, like, I think the thing is, like, you will never know until you try. And even that, if that's like, I don't know if I want to go to college, just don't go to college for a semester or a year. Take a gap year, whatever.
Yeah.
Work, and if you're like, oh, this is great. I love working and I love what I'm doing. But if not, it's like, okay, go back to college. It's only a year. Then I think the biggest thing is like, I would hate to live a life of regret being like, I wonder if I could have done it. Like, what if I would have been good for me to go to college? Just go to college. Doesn't work out, go.
Yeah.
Do something else. And like, you will never know until you try it. So from the taking risks practical point, like, it's like, just try it for like 6 months. And if you feel like embarrassed or feel like, man, I'm like, just work through those. And if it goes away, then, and you feel like this is something I want to do, then that's meant for you. If it's not, and you're still like, no, I'm still struggling, I'm still doing this, then like, find something else.
Yeah.
Like, you have so much time. It's better to do it, especially if you're young, do it now, when you can kind of like risk more than when you're like 40 and you have a family and you have a house and you have mortgage and you have all this other stuff to be like, yeah, I kind of want to, for me, be like, yeah, I want to be a producer. I've never done it in my life, but I want to do it. You're like, well, how are you going to support your family? It's just like, on that end of like the risk stuff, like that, just do it like wisely, but like take the chance and spend the time in it and actually really dive into it. And if it's like something that you're like, yeah, this works for me, then great. If it doesn't, then you didn't waste so much time thinking about it or debating about it, or that's kind of my take on that.
Yeah, pretty much all I have to say about this. I like what you said about, like, not having regret at the end of your life. I think there's always going to be something in life, whether it's, like an action that you found foolish or simply something that just, you were complacent or something happened and it didn't work out and you think, what if? I just think, and this kind of just goes back to answering the whole prompt, like, life is full of questions and paths that you need to make a decision to take. And life is full of just realizing that you don't know what to do and you're figuring out where God is leading you. And that's your whole life. Like, I can say with confidence that whatever trial we're all going through, whatever decisions we're struggling to make, we will eventually make them and we will eventually get through that. But that doesn't mean that there isn't going to be more. And so I think expecting it is important, and just realizing that you will drive yourself insane if you try to make those decisions by yourself. And so trust in and rely on God and let him comfort you as you make those decisions. And just kind of, I've been trying to memorize scripture. And so Philippians 4:4-7 come to mind, which is, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guide your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. So it's like, that really helps me when I'm trying to make a decision. It's just like, let God guide your heart and your mind. And we're going to be anxious about things, but just trying to learn how to just lean on God, lean back. Maverick City Music plug.
I was gonna say what?
Yeah. But yeah, that, like, take risks or don't take risks. Like obviously there's always going to be a question of like, was that a good decision? But it's like, you can always look back and just realize that every decision you've made, it's exactly how God wanted you to handle that.
So it's not really on you.
Right, exactly. So, like, don't use that as an excuse to be like, peace out, God's got me, I'm just going to be lazy and sit on the couch all day. It's like, God will call you to take action. But when you're stressing about decisions you've already made that are already in the past, just find rest in God and knowing that he's in control of it all. So.
Nice. I love that. That's good. To wrap up, I just wanted to make a quick note that it's okay not to know where your life is going. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, we're talking a lot about like, so you can do and like seek God in this, and it's all really good stuff and like stuff that we should really apply. But it's okay to sit in these moments and be like, I really don't know what's happening.
Right.
And like that's where I've found some of the most peace, especially with bringing God into it. Be like, God, I really do want to know what the heck. Like, for me, one of my favorites, and I said this in the last episode, it was Proverbs 3:5-6. Like, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding, and always acknowledge him. You should make your path straight. It's like, just in those moments, just like, I really don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
But I can trust you, and I can lean on you.
Yeah.
Because you are my support. You, like, I know where I'm gonna go because I'm with you.
Yeah.
And kind of just like having that, it's okay to like sit in those moments and be like, I really don't know what's happening, and I'm really frustrated. And it's okay to acknowledge that frustration.
Yeah.
Like, God's not gonna be like, what the heck, you should be happy, and like, he's gonna be like, okay, cool, like, I'm here with you in that moment. I think just acknowledging, like, I'm upset, I'm kind of embarrassed, I'm kind of angry, I'm kind of this, and just letting that out to God.
Yeah.
To then be like, hey, that's okay. And like, because like, God is gonna be the easiest one to forgive us. Like, of all that anger and all that stuff. And like, it's like getting angry at your parents, stuff like that, and they'll still forgive you. It's like, you have to come to him and be like, hey, this is like, I'm here because I need help. And I'm frustrated. I'm really confused. I don't understand this. And like, that's okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make a point on that. And if you guys have anything to say about that, but if not, we're just going to wrap
What was
this
the
up.
first sentence? I like everything that you said since, but what was the...
It's okay to not know where your life is going.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to plug that
No, that's good.
right at the end.
I mean, I don't know where my life is going.
I don't
And
either,
it's like-
really. So.
And that's kind of like, you should never, like, always you're pursuing God. Like, that's a constant in your life. Whether or not you're pursuing other things, like that'll change, that'll vary, but like, you should always be pursuing God. But other than that, like, yeah, try to be productive and try to be, working hard for the sake of God. Don't be lazy, don't be complacent. But yeah, like, God's got you. And I mean, recently I've just been finding a lot of comfort in just kind of talking to God in prayer, and just, he already knows everything. He already knows your thoughts. He already knows what you're going through. Just like, say it, like, just say it to him. And that's really comforting, because it's like, you've got a buddy. You've got a buddy who knows everything, who's not going to judge you or be, this harsh, passive-aggressive person. It's like, he already knows all of you, and he loves all of you. It's not like there are parts that you can't say to him because he won't like it and he won't love you because of it. It's like, he will always love you for all of who you are. So that's my closer.
Nice. Anything?
Yeah. You kind of touched on it, but like, just like, I was thinking, just like, cry out to God. In like the times where, like, you don't know where life's going. It's not like, if you don't know where life's going, just ask God to like, where is my life going?
Yeah.
What is going on right now? Because this is not what I thought it was going to be, but this is what's happening. So can you let me know what's going on? And if he doesn't if he holds it back from you, don't take discouraged, like, oh, God's not close to me. Like, it's not how it is. Like, God is always close to us, so we just have to take the effort to be close to him too. But it's just like, if you cry out and he doesn't answer you right away, don't be like, oh, he's not answering me.
Yeah.
That's okay. Like, that happens. He will answer you eventually. And just know that he will eventually. So if he doesn't answer you in the time, there's a reason he's not answering you this moment. So he will answer you eventually. So yeah, just like, cry out in times of struggle, in times of joy, in times of reward, like, whatever it is, just be like, talk to God.
Cool. All right. That pretty much wraps it up. Gus, thanks for jumping on.
That was the longest one we've had so far.
It was a very long,
How long was that?
That was an hour.
58 minutes. That's a long one. But it was good. I really liked it. And it was good. Even just talking through everything.
Yeah.
It was good.
Be sure to smash that like and subscribe button. And there's normally
Support,
more,
yeah.
but
I mean-
buy our merch.
We don't have merch yet.
You know.
But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of In Depth, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Deuces.
Do it. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this time with us, please subscribe, comment, leave a like, and we'll see you in the next episode.